If tomorrow all the things were gone, I'd work for all my life, and I had to start again with just my children and my wife. I thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Central Valley Talk. My name is Ray Johns. I'm your host, and the name of my show is Ray Johns, American Patriot, and I'm glad to have you with me. This is my 90th show. I am so proud of that, and I was just informed of that by my great director here, Michael, who does an outstanding job. I say it every week, the show can exist without me. It cannot exist without Michael. He's outstanding. Anyway, I am so happy that you're with me today, and I'm just so happy that I'm able to do this every week and inform you of what's going on, especially in the political world. I have an American Patriot this week. His name is David McCampbell, and I purposely did not tell my special guest, Gary, about him, because I know Gary probably knows about this guy. He was a World War II hero, fighter pilot. He shot down 34 Japanese planes, and on October 24th, 1944, he shot down 9 planes in one day. And he received the Medal of Honor, the Distinguished Navy Cross, and about 5 or 6 other outstanding medals. He was cut from the same cloth as Sergeant York and Audie Murphy. It's too bad I don't know, and I could be wrong. No one did a movie about this guy. Maybe I'll write it. Who knows? He was just an outstanding individual. David McCampbell, American Patriot, for this week. Now, I'd like to talk about something that's been in the news lately, and it's about. I called him Kanye West, and I got a lot of people who were laughing at me. It's Kenya. What is it? How's it pronounced? Kanye West, and I was calling him Kanye West. It tells you how old I am. I'm far removed from rap music. I don't really. I'm not a fan of it, as you can tell. I'm more or less a country western type guy and a jazz guy, but Mr. West, who went to see President Trump, is taking a whole lot of slack from people in this country, and mostly African Americans. Now, how dare they think that they can dictate to this young man what his First Amendment rights could be? How dare they think that? I congratulate you, Mr. West. I stand up, I applaud you, I salute you. Good job for standing up for what you believe in. You know, I wear a Trump shirt every day, you know. And I'll be honest with you, I dare somebody to come up and tell me that I shouldn't wear it, you know. And so far, no one has, you know. And they may make comments, but they don't tell me that I shouldn't have this on. But how dare they approach this young man, because he happens to be a very wealthy, very successful young man, married to Kim Kardashian, I understand, and he happens to believe in Donald Trump. Congratulations, Mr. West. And like I said, I salute you, I stand up, I applaud you for standing up for what you believe is right. You're a good man, and you're a strong man. And do not allow these idiots to dictate your First Amendment rights. How dare they? And I'm going to bring in my guest here, and because I know Gary's got something to say about this. He's been reading it. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, Ray.
What do you think about that?
Well, I tell you what it's like with those people that are criticizing West.
Yeah.
Kind of reminds me of a corral full of milk cows trying to tell the dairyman what.
I love this. I love this, man. You know, I'm a dairyman's son, so I especially love this. Yeah, really.
I mean, let's face it. The people are so. There's so many people that are just totally uninformed, not with it, have no understanding.
It's idiotic. You know what? You look like me. You got to vote like me.
Yeah.
You know, you're black, so you got to vote like. You know what? Am I supposed to be for Barack Obama because he's black?
Well, because you know it gets back down to where it's not individuals. It's back down to because you're black, you're not supposed to do this. Because you're this, you're not supposed to.
Go ahead.
No, why don't we just all be Americans and do what the right?
What
thing?
a bunch of hypocrites.
Yeah.
They won't allow anybody to criticize or label them. You know, or put them in a certain category, and yet they do the same thing.
But
you know,
Conway West is doing a lot of good though, and he's getting a lot of followers
He
as well
is.
as Candace Owens. Those two,
Yeah,
as
yeah.
well as Diamond and Silk.
Yeah.
And those, right?
I stand up and I
Yeah.
applaud these
Right.
people because they're taking a lot of slack. I understand that Mr. West got death threats from these idiots.
Oh yeah, they everything, you know. But
Jeez.
here's the thing: he's winning
Yes,
by a lot.
he
and
is.
and he's influencing in a positive way a lot of people. But there again, because of what he knows and the understanding that common sense, whatever you want to call that, he has, it's like the sheep trying to tell the sheep herder how to herd sheep.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just
Good
these-
analogy, Gary.
Yeah, these
Very good
people are
analogy.
not. People are not. There's a lot of people out there that are so
They're idiots.
idiots, you know.
Let's,
and it
hey,
has nothing.
let's face it, they're idiots. You're
But
gonna
you know,
tell,
Ray, that really doesn't have anything to do with, I've noticed, with someone's color or education. And that's another thing.
Well, that's
the
true.
education part. I mean, we're talking about people with PhDs that you could paper a living room with. But when it comes to common sense and reality, they are idiots.
That's right.
And they're part of the useful idiots.
Like my mama used to say. She'd say that old boy's not long on good sense.
Yeah, well-
You know? And it's true.
Well, they just don't have that, and maybe they never will. It's a missing gene, or whatever you want to call it, or it's some kind of a derangement, mental illness of some kind.
It's something. I
But
don't
they're
understand
not-
that mentality.
Well,
at all.
they're not. You know, they're not the kind of. What it is, they're incapable. Is what it boils down to.
And
They're
you know-
incapable of believing. You know what they see. They only see what they believe, and that's reality to
Yeah,
them.
you know, Gary, I admire Kanye West.
Yeah.
I admire this young man, and like I said, I'm not a fan of rap music. I'm gonna listen to some of his music now, just because I like. And another thing, Donald Trump likes this young man.
Well, yeah,
Invited him
because
to the-
he's
you know?
he's everything that well, basically he's everything that's American,
Exactly.
and that's all that matters. It doesn't have to do
Exactly,
anything
Gary.
to do. I don't care if he's a rap singer. Do
Yeah.
you?
No.
I care less.
No.
Or truck driver or whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, it's are you an American? Because I every night I try to watch at least one video of the walkaway people, and it always shocks me who actually is walking away. You'd never dream it, and their admission of the way they were and how they found out. Like,
You know, and I think that I had a girl. Well, I thought she was my girlfriend. She really wasn't. But she would do that. She always watched the other side. You know,
Right.
to see what you know. And I think that's probably. I used to. I wouldn't do that, and now I'm doing it because the way she did it. It made sense. You know, I want to see what's happening from the other side. You know, I just totally ignored him.
well, like this one kid I watched the other night on a walkaway. I mean, and it dawned on me after listening. I've listened to several like that, okay? But it started really dawning on me. I said, just how much courage it does take for someone to do that, like he did. His mother, his mother got on him.
Yeah.
His dad got on him.
Yeah.
His brothers got on him. His sisters got on him.
Everyone-
His family got on
Yeah.
him. His
And
friends got on
his
him.
fans
His
got
school
it.
teachers got on him.
Yeah.
And for him to walk away, that's a brave.
You
thing
doggone
to do,
right.
you
I
know?
salute him. Like I said, I
Yeah.
salute him. I applaud you.
And
you
you
know, I
would not-
stand up for you.
And you wouldn't believe that this guy would do that when you saw him from an outward.
Oh, yeah,
appearance.
absolutely.
But I see that happening over and over,
Yeah.
more and more, and it's growing at a. And actually, the walkaway thing growing pretty fast, pretty
yeah,
far.
it is. Yeah. Well,
And-
we need people like him who
Well,
are
that's
from
be-
that culture.
Well,
you know,
because
who
they
are
decide.
teaching
Well,
young
they
people.
decide to be an American. They decide to be an individual. They decide. That's what Kanye West decided.
Exactly.
I want to have my thought. I don't need to have your thought.
Yeah, yeah. How dare you dictate to me what
right.
my First Amendment rights should be? How dare you do that?
But this has gone on all over America. The more people like we talking about,
Yeah,
the more emboldened others become.
yeah,
Because you always have that. You kind of get that feeling. Something just isn't right.
Yeah.
We've all had that. Where maybe we're doing something and we just say, it's just something isn't right. I don't
Yeah.
feel good about it. You can't really put your thumb on it, but there's something.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
what happens? It just needs a little awareness.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you say, "Oh man, how did I ever think that way? I was totally wrong." We all do that.
You know, and this
Yeah.
young man that I now admire a lot, and I do, it's going to influence a lot of good people.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, see, and exactly
Yeah,
what you're
and that's
talking
what
about.
it's necessary in order for us to stay Americans. Otherwise, we're going to be like the communists. And see what the communist people, the leader, that we've got. It's scary. I mean, at one time it wasn't very many. Now it's 50%.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like 90% in our school system.
Yeah.
90% in our media. I mean, we're fighting a lot of odds here. These people are indoctrinating starting at kindergarten.
Yeah. And look how much power the media has. Like you said, it's 90%. You think they don't have power?
Well,
CNN and these.
Well,
these,
you take like the education deal. I talked to a number of
another
teachers.
one.
In fact, I have some relatives that are teachers. My sister's a teacher, so they have to be careful what they say around other teachers. Now, isn't that sad?
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's how much brainwashing these teachers have become.
Yeah.
They've been brainwashed.
Yeah.
I mean, they started as libtards and they just been brainwashed ever since.
Yeah.
Now they're teaching.
Yeah.
Well, what are they going to teach? They're going to try to teach. They're teaching more libtards.
Sure they are.
And so when these kids get out, and those that do break away on their own initiative, I give them a lot of credit.
I had a wonderful lady on my show 7 months ago who is in the school system at a high level. Wonderful, brilliant lady. She's in one of my spin classes at GB3. That's where I met her. And just her husband is a farmer out here, and they grow vegetables. They're very successful, extremely successful, has successful sons. And she told me, which makes sense, our school system is never going to improve until we get the government out of our school system,
right.
which makes sense.
Well, that started in 1974. Jimmy Carter, what a worthless, he's as worthless as Obama. In fact,
Oh yeah,
I put them both, they both should share the same cell.
yeah, yeah. Along with Bill Clinton.
Well, of course, and Hillary. I mean, it goes on. But Ray, there's something that's happened recently that really has had a
Let's talk about
tremendous
that.
impact, and that's been the Kavanaugh thing.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I was hoping we would talk about.
Well,
that.
here's the thing about that. It subconsciously it resonated with lots of people, and I'm gonna break out a group right now that it
Good.
really has an effect. Now they may not change, but something. It was enough. It caused an unrest. Okay, now here we had a man. And let's get back to what's her name, Feinstein. If you just look at her and really watch her body language, that's an evil, evil woman. That person is evil.
I'll go along with you
And
there.
so
totally.
she's like Hillary.
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
evil
they're cut
people.
from the same cloth.
Yeah, and they don't have any compassion. They don't have a fiber in their body
Yeah.
that's like that. I mean, they're strictly. You look at her, and I mean, it's kind of scary, when
Yeah.
you sit there and think about it.
I felt like I was cheering at a baseball game when Lindsey Graham got on her.
Yeah.
I just absolutely loved it. I loved what he said to her.
Well,
I was-
she's an evil lady, and
Yeah. He put her in a.
have
her
you ever
place.
seen her smile or anything? I mean, she's awful. Okay, well, what happened was, and see how her mind is. She's thinking people are. She has no regard for people. She thinks people are stupid. I mean, and she assumed everyone was very
Oh, yeah,
stupid.
yeah.
And she was going to get by with that.
Oh yeah, like Hillary Clinton.
And like Hillary Clinton, they don't look at you as an equal. They look at you as something way beneath
Oh,
them.
absolutely they do.
And they do the same thing with others too. And the only way they do it was say somebody that's in their same, like another senator. They don't think that person's equal to them either, but they use their position.
Yeah.
Okay. But here's something to think about that subconsciously happened to lots and lots of people. And I'm going to phrase it like this.
Okay.
Okay, what happened when they came, the Democrats, on that, they all grilled Kavanaugh like you cannot believe.
Oh
right?
yeah, I remember.
And there was an automatic assumption to the point it was, in their mind, a law, he was guilty
Oh yeah.
before innocent.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
They judged him long before that.
Okay, and they convicted him. Not just judged him,
Yeah.
they convicted him.
Yes.
There's a big difference. I like to judge it, but now you're going to convict.
Yeah.
So let's face it, what is unsettling to a lot of people, and well, all of us, what's unsettling is that, man, all of a sudden you realize that you could be convicted in the United States and be innocent, and you're convicted prior to being proved guilty.
Is that not scary?
That's scary for every single
You're
person.
doggone right it
Now,
is.
I'm going to hit it to home like this, Ray.
Okay.
Okay. Back in the old days, it was not uncommon that I'm talking about why so many blacks have changed, are changing.
Okay.
As an example, it wasn't back in the old days. It wasn't uncommon necessarily for a white woman to just point her finger and lynch the black man.
That happened all the time. You're right, Gary.
Right?
It happened in the South.
Okay,
it
so-
happened all the time. Yeah.
Okay, so what did every black person see right there subconsciously? He see himself being lynched.
Oh yeah.
Think about that, because that's what they did. They
And
lynched.
and psychologically, it did what? It kept them in line.
Well, that's
what it did. It
yeah,
controlled it. Yeah.
control them in line. But look at the injustice.
Yeah.
And so what they saw was a flashback. If you was a black man and you it may not have been, of course, during your lifetime or something, but you heard the stories.
Oh, absolutely.
And
I
you
did.
turn around and there's a instant flashback of, wow, that could be me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm convicted before I'm proven guilty,
Mm-hmm.
and by a woman.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's go beyond that. What did every black woman see? Every black woman saw either her husband or
her
her sons.
You're absolutely right, Gary.
boy,
absolutely. And I'm going
it-
to tell you why here in a minute.
But if you're, in other words, if you're a Democrat, okay, now let's go beyond that now. Okay, every mother, assuming she has sons, or if it's sisters, daughters, they have brothers or fathers, and they all seen them lynched. Okay, now let's go over into the, a white person. What did they see? Same thing. They said, hey, all I needed was to have a woman point a finger at me, and I'm lynched. I'm guilty just like everybody, and everybody's seen that. Mothers seen it, wives seen it, daughters. I mean, everybody. Daughters seen their dad. We all had this deep down in the back. We had this visual of a hanging and a lynching, and that has had a tremendous effect on a lot of people, as being the turning point to now leave and walk away.
Very good point, Gary. Outstanding point. And let me just interject
Sure.
this here, because I
Yeah.
think this goes right along with what you're saying. When after high school, I was picked to go play baseball on this all-star team. And we traveled through the South, right? And I remember my mother did not want me to go. She did not want me to go because she was of that generation
Right.
that you just talked
Right.
about. And her and my dad got in a big argument about it. And my dad said, you got to let him go. He's going to be fine, My mother talked to the coaches, everything. She made me call her every single day. And she told me, she says, when you get down there, I know you're used to things in California. She said, don't speak to white girls. Just leave. Don't speak to them. Just don't
Yeah.
speak to them at all. We're in Macon, Georgia, at the
I've
train
been there,
station. Yeah, waiting to go play baseball in another ballpark, another
Yeah.
city, right? And there's this really good-looking little red-headed gal sitting there, and she says, "Where are you from?" And I said, "Oh, I'm from California." And she says, "Where in California?" And I said, "Well, it's a little bitty place. You probably never heard of it. It's Chowchilla, California." And she says, "Is it near the ocean?" I mean, she was just excited about whether I lived near the
Right.
ocean. Well, I looked up, and a whole bunch of people were like staring at us,
wow.
this conversation. And I said, "Oh, maybe this is not a very good idea." And she said, and it came back to me what Bob
Right.
said. And she said, "I don't care what these people think." And I'm thinking, yeah, but they're not going to do anything to you. But it all came back to me. And it's exactly what you said. Exactly. My mother that's what she was afraid
Well,
of.
of course,
would happen,
I mean, and that's happened.
Yeah.
And what a flashback of all that was that Kavanaugh realization, and that's what meant.
Good point, Gary.
And
yeah.
the people that have left that Democrats are synonymous with that kind of thing. Well, they're the ones at that time was doing the lynching and all that. But you talk about going to. I was in the South, of course, being from California. I didn't know the rules either. And I'm driving out in the middle of nowhere out there in Alabama. They got these little grocery stores. They service, post office, grocery store, bar, the whole 9 yards. And so I go walking in there to stop to get a Coke. Because it was out in the middle of the woods. I stopped to get a Coke, and it said, I see this sign as I'm walking in, and it says, I think it was Negroes in the rear,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And so, and the whites here,
Yeah.
And that's the first time I'd seen something like that, So I thought, well, you know what? I want to go in there where the
The blacks
blacks are,
Sounds like you,
And
good.
so I go walking in there. I sit at the bar, and of course it's full. Blacks were playing cards and this and that. I sit there and order beer, and I'm there with my beer, and pretty soon one of the guys gets up from the card table, comes over to me, and says, "Hey, you don't belong here." He says, "You go up front where you belong." Well, I think he was afraid maybe I was going to cause trouble for everybody. You see,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But it kind of shocked me a little
Yeah.
bit,
Oh, yeah.
And I said, well, that's something, because I was obviously the only white. I walked in there, so I go in the front. But I had that kind of an experience at that time.
I gotta tell you about a friend of mine's uncle. He told me this story probably 10 years ago, and he was at the time in his late 90s, and he said he was down south, very wonderful man, and he went to a place to get something to eat, and black and whites were both in there. But he walked in, and there was a black guy behind him. And so the lady looked around him and said, "You're next, sir." And he said, No, he's not. He says, "No, I'm not." He said, "This guy's in front of me." And she said, "Sir, we're going to serve you, and then we're going to serve you." And he said, "No, I'm not." And he said, the black guy told him, said, "Look, it's okay.
Yeah.
That's the way it's done. And I know you're trying to help me, but you're really hurting me."
Well, that's what I probably was doing, yeah.
Yeah, he said, "You're really hurting me by doing this. I'm going to take flack for this, so you go ahead." And I thought, man, and my friend's uncle said, he said it just made him sick. He was so saddened.
Well, yeah,
by that,
I ran into that. I had a hard time with it the first time I was down in because I was just
That's the kind of person you are, Gary.
Well, I was just outside of Selma.
Yeah.
And that was right after the march. It was like 2
Oh,
weeks
my
after, or a week
gosh,
after
yeah.
the march.
Yeah, Martin Luther King, yeah.
Yeah, that he had marched there, and I went into Selma, and man, you talk about a culture shock.
Oh, man, I can just
I'm walking
I can't
down
even imagine.
Ray, I'm walking down the sidewalk, and there's, black couples, they come in the sidewalk. They would walk across the other side of the street and down. Isn't that something? I said,
That's amazing.
that was, I just had a hard time. I said,
My mother told me stories.
well, and just like water fountains, there'd be two.
Yeah. And she said when her and my dad get married, she said, "I'm not going to raise my children in this atmosphere," and that's why they came to California.
Man,
She says, "I will not raise my
Man,
children
that was
here."
smart. Well,
Yeah.
that was smart. But you see what's happening, and the black voting people that are criticizing, like Conway, you see how far don't you see them as being just like they're still on the plantation?
Well, absolutely. Absolutely.
When you see a black guy, get on to that guy, West, right?
Yeah.
Don't you see him as no different than he's still on the plantation?
Well, of course he is. He still has that same mentality.
He's still bringing the horses out to hook up the buggies.
Exactly.
And he's still walking on the other side of the street.
There is a great line in that great movie with Sidney Poitier, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, where he tells his dad, he says, "Dad, you think of yourself as a colored man. I think of myself as a man." I love that line.
Oh, that's a great line.
Well,
we talk about it on this show. You and I both for a long time, but how we're just American.
Yeah.
And forget
Americans
about
first.
I don't even like having that. Why can't it just be American, and then turn around and not even make American first?
Yeah.
That to me is racist.
Absolutely.
I
go along with you totally, buddy.
I have a problem. I really do have a problem using the term Black American because I don't feel right.
Yeah.
Because or Hispanic American or Mexican American, whatever.
It doesn't matter. Portuguese American. It doesn't matter. You're right. It
doesn't matter. But I always feel bad about that because to me that's racist.
Sure it is.
Why can't we just be American?
I tell people all the time, I'm an American who happens to be black.
Yeah, there you go.
That's who
just
I
like
am.
Me.
But I am an American first,
Yeah.
and I will always be an American first.
And these people try to keep us separated. Obama was really that's all that whole Democrat thing's about right now is keep us divided, keep the unrest.
And they've done that for years. The sad part about it, it's like I met a brilliant. You would have liked this guy, by the way, young black man who had just graduated from Fresno State a couple of years ago, and he's out in the working world. And he told me, he said, "I admire you wearing that shirt." He said, he says, he said, "Obama was a puppet, wasn't he, sir?" And I said, "Yes, he was."
Yeah.
That's exactly what he was. He didn't do anything. What did he do? He didn't do anything for black.
He was a willing puppet, and he wasn't even American. He was born in some hut in Kenya.
Yeah, let me say this on this show, okay? In 20 months, Donald Trump has done more for American black people, I love saying that statement.
Yeah.
Let me say it again. American black people than Obama did in 8 years. Look at what's happening with unemployment, Gary, and everything else.
Right.
You know, his infrastructure, his vocational thing that Gary's talking about that
Yeah.
he's putting into the inner cities, has black people going to work, going back to work.
Right.
This is a wonderful, wonderful thing. This man is doing everything that he said he's going to do, and he's done more for American blacks in 20 months than Obama did in 8 years. You know,
Well, there's no
that happens to be a fact.
and there's no excuse for a able-bodied person of any color to not have a job right now.
Yeah.
Well, with that job comes hope,
Yeah.
and it gets pretty exciting. You
And
know,
then comes pride.
Yeah,
You know, I mean,
right.
my goodness. You know.
you learn a skill. You know.
Yeah.
So
Kind of nice to go out. Kind of nice to go out and get that check. You know, like I told you. You know, I was liberal until I got away from college and I got that check and I looked at it and I said, "Who is this FICO guy anyway?" You know.
well, you know what's like in some of these neighborhoods, what's is happening. You know, what's happening is that person that does go out and get a job. He had no idea he was going to make that kind of money, and now he's making this kind of money. Now he's getting the things that. That we all think that wasn't for us.
Isn't this wonderful?
Yeah.
He doesn't have to deal dope in the inner
You're
cities.
right,
He
yeah.
doesn't have to look over his shoulders
Right,
and can't sleep at
right.
night. He has a job. He
Right.
has pride. He's an American.
Yeah.
He's bringing this check home, and there's something about getting up and going out and getting something done, and not sitting on your butt on the couch every day
Well,
watching
that's
soap
right.
operas.
And these guys that are been in prison that are now getting out and getting an opportunity,
There's
they don't
another-
have to come out and with no hope at all, other than knowing that there's just a revolving door.
Yeah.
Now they can go out and become something.
Thank you, Mr. Trump.
Yeah, and thanks for Trump.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Trump's got all that down. It's just, I guess I just can't understand. I just, especially lately when you see how evil these Democrats are.
Oh,
I mean, and then you think about like that Feinstein. You could just see
Oh.
that bitter hate, that evilness in her. I mean, can you imagine having her decide whether or not you hang from that tree or not?
you'd be hanging. Are
You'd
you
be
kidding?
hanging, and all she had was a little girl standing over there that pointed her finger. That's all she needed.
Mm-hmm. You know,
so have you hanging.
there's a famous case out of. We're going to take a break here in a little bit, but let
Yeah.
me say this. There's a famous case out of Chicago, and you may have heard of it, Gary. I think it was back around the mid 1960s, where this young black man, 14 years old, went down south to visit his cousins, and while he was down there, apparently, he saw an attractive white person, and he made a comment. You know, they drug him out of his bed late that night.
Oh, I heard about it.
Yeah, oh yeah, it was real famous, real famous. In fact, it was in a
God,
film.
I remember that.
And took him out and hung him, for doing that, And it's hard to believe that something like that could happen just for making a comment. But it did. Things like that.
Well, it did happen, but it repeated itself. And let me tell you where it repeated
Good.
itself in everyone's mind is when they watched that Dianne Feinstein
Oh.
with Kavanaugh. That was a flashback to that
I
moment.
am so glad you brought that up because I didn't think of it that way. Now that you brought it up, you're absolutely
think
right.
of the subconsciousness of
Yeah.
that. I mean, when you're seeing that
Absol-
man, he was guilty,
Yeah,
convicted,
yeah.
without a trial,
Oh yeah.
and without any proof of guilt.
There was nothing there. There was
Without
nothing
proof,
there.
He was
You know?
convicted.
Yeah, but
Well,
they were sending this man down to the gallows right now.
Right now. And so what it did, it flashed back, and every American that's ever heard of an experience, even I don't care from six
Good
different
point,
sources.
Gary. Outstanding point.
And they said, because I had a guy that in fact I got to where I wouldn't even talk to. He comes to the donut shop, Hispanic guy, and he and I were kind of good friends there. And boy, he was so down on Trump. I said, man, I just don't even want to listen to this guy
Yeah.
anymore. Well, let's run the clock forward now. After this Kavanaugh deal, in fact, a couple of weeks ago, he said, man, there is no way can I ever vote Democrat again. See.
People wake up.
People wake up. People, because there's flashback. Come to find out, he has two kids, and him and his wife separated, and he's seen a lot what he was being charged with, which was not true in the custody fight. And what he's seen by watching that Kavanaugh deal, he's seen himself just like Kavanaugh,
Yeah.
being persecuted without any retort or ability or without any proof.
Yeah.
And he said, so that we could get personal with that Kavanaugh deal, and that affects everybody.
You doggone right it
And
does.
everybody has that flashback. It may not be conscious.
I'm so glad you brought that up.
But
yeah.
And what you witnessed, we all witnessed, what we all, and there was a number of injustices we can cite, but we're going to cite one that's pretty easy to identify. What we witnessed was a flash of that Kavanaugh deal by the Democrats, Feinstein in particular, and that girl, Ford. Mm-hmm. That was all.
Well, of course
phony.
it was.
What we witnessed was an old-fashioned lynching that happened maybe 100 years ago or so.
God, Gary, what a great point. I am so
Everybody
glad you brought
witnessed
that up.
it in one way.
I just got enlightened. That makes so much sense, and you're right.
Well, you can see
You're
how that would
absolutely right.
affect everybody.
Of course you.
Okay,
I can.
I'm a white guy. Well, that was a white guy that got lynched.
He's a white guy that got lynched.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's exactly.
And who did he get lynched by? Evil people.
Oh, how sad is that? We're going to take a little break here, Gary, and we're going to come back here, ladies and gentlemen. I am so glad you're with me. Thank you for being with me. This is my 90th show. I'm thrilled to death to be able to inform. I've got Gary with me, and so we're going to come back in a little bit, and we're going to inform you a little bit more about what's going on in the political world. So we're going to be back here in a few minutes.
If tomorrow all the things were gone, I'd work for all my life, and I had to start again with just my children and my wife. I thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom. And they
Okay, I'm back again with Gary, and we've been discussing Kavanaugh, and Gary made such a great point. You know, I have said on past shows that California is going to remain a sanctuary state until we get rid of the likes of Feinstein, Boxer, and Governor Brown. You know, nothing is going to change. You know, we have to bring in some conservative people in this state to make this great state. I love this state. I love living here. It has become a sanctuary state, and it is just awful. Am I right, Gary?
Oh,
and
absolutely.
It's just,
And I think people are waking up. There are little things that, Trump is just amazing, right?
Oh, yes, he is. I thank God every day that we have Donald Trump.
And people do.
Yeah.
I go to some websites. People they say I say a prayer each day with thank.
I do too.
And so anyway, but he's gone out into the areas where he could touch the people, but he uses his words in a certain way that they catch. I mean, how else did you come up with Pocahontas? And look what eventually happened to her.
I love it. Yeah.
Trump's got more Indian blood than Pocahontas, and he doesn't have any. So anyway, but one thing that is becoming, and he's used that, he did it, and it's really getting effective, and that is this real catchphrase, and that is jobs, not mobs. Now think about that.
I love that. I love that.
So if you are a conservative, Republican, whatever, and you support that, you're supporting jobs. But if you go to the other side, you're supporting mobs.
Yeah.
Well, then you say, well, look at the evidence. It's there on TV every night.
Oh, yeah.
They show these mobs, and they're Democrats or they're libtards. Well, after a while, you're seeing that every night. Pretty soon you say, man, I'm not one of those people. I don't even want to be around those people. Why am I voting for those people?
Yeah.
And so people are changing fast because I've said this over and over. If you really look yourself in the mirror and really try to use what little bit of common sense you may have, that is not going to have you voting for a Democrat.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it.
You know, and I like I said, I didn't watch this. I got this, I guess, I don't know what I'd call her, ex-acquaintance who does that. You know, she would watch these things, and I would, I wouldn't, and I would tell her, I don't want to see that. Well, now I'm watching them because it just amazes me how many of these idiots are out there like that.
Well, let's just say 50%. That's scary.
Oh, yeah.
But, at one time when I was growing up, I don't recall anybody like that. Zero.
I don't either.
I mean,
I don't
I
either.
go
I
to
agree
school and, grammar school, high school. I don't recall anybody being a libtard. Although they were all Democrats at that time.
It's like you and I said. This is not the Democratic Party of our parents.
No, of course not. No.
So, it's totally different.
But it's waking up with that. There's no dignity with those people.
None whatsoever.
There's no decency with those people.
None whatsoever.
There's no common sense with those people.
Whatsoever.
There's no compassion with those people other than for themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
And those people are, I don't know. I've always say they're miserable and but they're also evil. And then for you to follow that,
it goes back to what we talked about. Back during election time when those Ivy League little co-eds, they brought in hot chocolate and puppies for them to play with because they were
they're
so
pathetic. God,
because they were so distraught.
Yeah.
And my thing was, why don't you get your butts up off the carpet and go get a job and get a life? My goodness, they were so distraught because Hillary Clinton was not elected. My goodness,
well,
are
I
you
guess
kidding me?
Let's just say you was pretty much a diehard Democrat, but you're pretty much middle America. You had a job, whether it's a teacher or a CPA or whatever. You're a dock manager or store manager, whatever, and you've been that, and you've been a Democrat all your life. I mean, at what point though do you sit there and look at that and say, "Man, I'm just not one of them. I'm just."
And we're seeing that in the walkaways,
And
aren't we?
we're seeing that, and we're hearing it every day by walkaway, and not necessarily the kind of walkaway. I mean, I see look like gangbangers that are sitting there, and they explain why they walk away.
I love that. I mean,
Well, it takes a lot of courage.
you
on their
doggone
part.
right.
A lot more courage than would be for me to walk away.
That's why I admire Mr.
Yeah.
West.
Yeah. So you have to admire that. You look at that Diamond and Silk group, and look at
Another
that,
group, yeah.
and look at that Candace Owens. I just love that gal, don't
Yeah.
you?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
She is so amazing, and how she handles it is amazing, And but Trump right now, he's handling the press in a way that he's entertaining, and his
Against incredible odds, by the way.
his rallies are a little has a little more humor in it, and he's fake news. But look how effective he is. He labeled it fake news. Now, pretty soon, it's fake news.
Yeah.
Pocahontas, pretty soon.
Yeah.
It just keeps going like that.
Yeah.
And once he gets a name on you, you're in trouble. You're not going to last.
I love it. I absolutely.
But
love
like I get a kick out of it. He was going on and on about how disgraceful and how horrible and all that on the Kavanaugh, And then he says like this, but now for me, I've had the same thing. Only I've had it for so long, I'm used to it. He says, but that's okay for me because now I've had it so long, I don't bother me.
Gotta admire the man.
Yeah,
Have to
he's done
admire
a
the
great,
man.
and he knows what he stopped that. He's stopping that caravan, which is all orchestrated,
Of course it is.
You know.
Of course it is.
But he's stopping that. I get
As
it.
well he should.
Oh yeah, he just sits there. He says, "Well, number one, I'm not going to give you any aid if you don't stop it. But if you can't stop it, and we can't, I'm going to put the military there.
Yeah,
it's going to be
exactly.
stopped.
It's
one
going to
way
be
or the other.
stopped. I
Yeah.
love it, and it
Yeah.
should be stopped.
And there's
For
not too
crying
much.
out loud.
And there's not too much gets said after that
Yeah.
because he'll do it.
Yeah, he'll do it.
And he will. Yeah. But that's something that we have to be very, very aware of when we go to the polls. And what we're doing, it's not about, we could say it's about me individually, you individually, but really what it's about right now, put it this way, we're all commandeered to do what? To save America.
Exactly.
Can you imagine America be right now had Hillary been
Oh
elected?
my gosh.
Ray would be on a handcart of Venezuela.
Exactly. We would have gone the way of
Can you
Venezuela.
imagine?
know?
And it would have been quick.
Yeah. A once prosperous country that's now a third world country.
Right.
That's what they are.
Yeah, it's hard to even imagine what it would be like, what our conversation would even be like had Hillary been elected,
Heaven forbid.
And
Heaven forbid that. I tell you, the night that I was in the hospital and the nurses came into my room, and I love this story. I've told it a million times. They come in my room, and I said, "You came in to wake me up to give me a sleeping
Right.
pill." They laughed. They said, "No, we came in to tell you that your candidate won." And I thought they were kidding me.
Right.
And I said, "You're kidding me." And they said, "Turn on the TV," and they did. And I said, "Give me my clothes. I'm completely cured."
Right.
Donald Trump just got elected. I don't need any medical attention anymore.
Well, and you know, the guy that's sitting out there, the casual guy that isn't taking interest in it, not say it like we do. However, the thing he or she has to realize is that they have a lot at stake because we all just have one vote.
Absolutely.
You know, it would be different. Let's say, well, because you're this and this, you're going to get 10 votes. Let's say you get, no, we all have one.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes us all equally responsible
Yeah.
for what is going to happen.
Yeah.
There's no inequality in that.
No. No.
And so then it lends it the other way. It is, if you have that kind of responsibility and you want to keep America free and yourself free and your family free and allow you to pursue what you think is good for you or you can do, maybe, you know, you might be in a dumpster today, but now you have an opportunity.
Yeah.
Before you did not.
Yeah.
But you want to have that opportunity, you better go vote.
Yeah.
But don't
Exactly.
vote for the Democrat. Vote for a Republican.
Absolutely.
And if you can't vote for a Republican, then don't vote
Don't
at all.
vote at all. Don't
vote
vote
at
at all. Absolutely.
And-
I mean, you've got to see what's going on in this country.
Yeah.
Look at what's happening in this country. I'm a small businessman. I see the difference. Gary sees the difference. You know, look at the stock market. Gary knows more about that than anybody I know. Just there's a prime example right there, if anything.
Well, if the youth today, and they will someday, but man, it's a battle. But if they realize the opportunity they have right now, it's unbelievable, especially with this investment tax credit and the lowering of the tax itself.
Yeah.
So you get to keep more of your money when you are working that you've earned now with Trump.
As opposed to giving it to the government.
And plus, there are ways in which you can expand your business and it be advantageous to the point. I call it free.
Yeah.
Okay, let's use an example of that. So,
Good.
And I talked to a young person just the other day about it. Okay.
Yeah. Give us an example.
Yeah, the example would be this young person. He's 23 years old and he's driving a corn truck right now. You know, how they're
Hauling
harvesting-
corn?
Yeah, hauling corn because it's seasonal. You know,
Sure.
a couple of months, but he's going to be done here pretty quick.
Yeah.
So I asked him. I says, "Well, what are you going to do?" He says, "After you get done," he said, "I think I'm going to go to truck driving school so I can get a certificate." And there's a big need for truck drivers.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah." He says, "I want to do." I'm 23 years old. He see the country and get paid for
Sure.
it, right? So I said, "Well, that's a heck of a good deal." I says, "Yeah." He says, "I know what which is true." I said, "All I got to do is walk out the door and I'm hired." I said, "That's true because they're screaming for truck
Sure.
drivers." I says, "Now, how about you becoming a owner operator?" And he looked at me and he said, "That's really what I'd like to do someday." And I said, "It's going to be easier for you than you think." He says, "How's that?" I said, "Well, you can go buy the truck, and the amount of taxes that you'd be having to pay the IRS, you could make that the payment on your truck. And so the money you earned, 100% will no longer go to the IRS. It'll go to pay your truck. So what you end up with, because otherwise you'd have to pay the taxes anyway. This way, you put it into your purchase of your truck, and you'll end up without having to pay any taxes on that truck. Now, someday the truck is basically, we'll call it paid off, and it runs out of investment tax credit. Just buy a better, newer truck.
Absolutely.
And you'll be
You turn
more
around and do
efficient.
the same thing over again.
Over again. And I said, that's how you can do that as an owner-operator. And I'll tell you what, those guys right now are making a lot of money.
Oh, I bet
Boy,
they are,
now,
Gary.
now I told him, I says, you got a girlfriend? He said, no, not right now. I said, well, when you get one that wants to be a truck driver, so you two could be a mom and pop truck driving team, and I guarantee you.
Oh my gosh.
I know of one from Chicago, and he was an
What a
attorney.
great way for a young couple
Well,
to see
listen
the
to
country
this.
too.
He was an attorney, and she was a school teacher, and they both quit, and they bought this this truck. I mean, it is.
how-
Oh
what
my
an
God.
interesting story, Gary.
Yeah,
How
and
cool.
this truck has got all the bells, every bell. I mean, it's
And
like,
he quit being an attorney. She quit teaching school, and
yeah, and so they started
I love
mom.
this.
They started mom and pop trucking, right?
Uh-huh.
And they here's the thing. He says, yeah, we work 8 months out of the year, but we have 4 months completely off, nothing.
Beautiful.
And,
Beautiful.
and they live in Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, yeah, we truck for 8 months out of the year, and then we have 4 months out of the year that we don't do anything.
Anything they want to do, they can do.
And boy, their truck would be like, it's like going camping every day for them. I mean, they had I looked inside. I mean, they even had like a little jacuzzi in there. It was pretty cool.
how
Barbecue
wonderful.
and all
Yeah.
that. But anyway, there's a lot of opportunity for people right now in just about anything. Well, I had a guy there where I go to this restaurant, Ray, and he just had bought this restaurant a couple of years ago, maybe. And I said, and he's done pretty good, And I said, how's it going? He said, man, that stove must be 100 years old. I need a new stove. I said, really? He says, oh, God. He says, I don't know what to do. That stove has just about had it, And I said, well, what is that stove going to cost you? And he said, well, I've already priced it. I already know what I want. It's $7,000. And I said, do you think you're going to be paying around $7,000 in income tax this year? He said, yeah, it could be that. Something like that. I said, why don't you just go out and buy that stove today and get a new stove? Because you're not going to be paying that to the IRS. That'll be your stove. You got your stove free if you want to look at it that way.
That is such a beautiful thing.
And that's what's available for every American.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a guy just the other day, like for his business, he needed a car, used car, for I guess one of his employees. And he said the same thing. He says, I went out and bought a car, and I got that car free because I was going to have to pay it in taxes. Now I just bought the car, and I got the car.
Can't beat that.
Yeah.
Cannot beat that.
Yeah.
Thanks to Donald Trump.
And see, that the American public has got to be educated into that.
Yes.
Made that aware. They're not going to get it in school because the teachers aren't going to teach it. And the
course
reason
they're
they're
not.
not going to teach it because they don't want them to teach it.
No.
And,
course they don't.
and if you go to a school teacher and tell her something like this and tell her or him to go tell her student, her eyes will cross.
Well, sure. And you're right with what you just said. They don't want them to know.
They don't want them
this.
to know.
Yeah.
They don't want that to be taught. They'd rather teach about some social thing about
And let the money go to
well,
them.
they'd rather talk about the we need chocolate and we need little puppy dogs for our class. They're not going to teach them what they need for their class, which is stuff like we're just talking about. And it's not difficult, and it's not you don't have to be a financial wizard to do that. I mean, come on, Ray, you're sitting there you need a mobile home. And you're looking at I need this thing in the worst way. Now, how much education does this take for you to sit there and say, okay, what's that mobile home cost? Well, that's what it costs, and I need that. And then find out I get to take the whole thing, investment tax credit. So instead of that money that you were going to pay in income tax, now I got my mobile home.
Yeah.
Now, how much did that really take as far as having to understand it?
Not much.
Not much. And that's how simple it is.
Yeah.
So I don't think that I don't think it's going to happen overnight, but it is going to happen. Little by little, more and more people are going to become aware of things like that.
Yeah.
And that's just part of it. When Trump talks about reducing your income tax so that you get to keep more, that's just part of it. Because there's an investment tax credit that's available and there's a lot of people with jobs that have a second job.
Yeah.
It might be that they do minor refurbish cars in their garage as a hobby at night when they get home from work. Well, that's a business.
Yeah, it is.
And so then all the equipment that's required, they can get that equipment and not have to and take it off their income tax. Come on, what's wrong with that?
Nothing's wrong with it.
So a guy
It's
sits there
American way.
and he sits there and he says, "Man, I wish I had a lathe there I got a little shop there at home. I need a lathe." Well, go buy the lathe, and because you've got a business, and you refurbish this or you make this as a hobby, but now you get to write that off. So what does that do? That puts people to work.
Sure it does.
You see, and that's the idea of it, and that's why this country can, man. And they're talking. Democrats are talking about impeaching Trump. I mean, why? I mean, how smart are those people?
It's just so idiotic.
I mean, it just doesn't make sense.
It drives me insane. It's just idiocy.
I mean, it's like I don't know. It's like to me, their line of thinking. It's like a doctor telling you, says, "Man, we got to amputate that foot," and you don't do it. Oh, that's a Democrat, so they don't do it.
Ugh. Unbelievable. Just unreal.
I mean, they're killing themselves.
Yes, they are.
Every time they vote for a Democrat, they put another bullet in their chest.
Yeah, they are, Gary. You know, ladies and gentlemen, this happens every time Gary comes on. I say it every time he's here. He's got so much great stuff to keep us informed, me as well as you. And time flies by, and that's what's happened. And I've got to tell you, that every week, of course, I ask you to go up to a law enforcement officer and shake his hand. And this thing's come full circle with me. I ran into two gentlemen this weekend, two wonderful policemen that came up and shook my hand. And I said, "What's this for?" I had forgotten about it, but they said, "Because of what you do." And they came up and they said, "We thought we'd beat you to the punch and say thank you to you." And it just made me feel so good that they appreciate the fact that I'm asking you, when you see these wonderful men in blue, whether they be sheriffs, whether they be Fresno PD, whether they be highway patrolmen, FBI agents, anyone in law enforcement, go up and tell them how much we appreciate what they do, because we do appreciate what they do, and they have a thankless job. And let's make them feel worthy, more than worthy, of what they do, because we appreciate it very much. And so let me say, until we meet again next week, joyously on Friday. I'm so glad you were with me. My 90th show, by the way. I'm really excited about that. Today is my 90th show. So until we meet next week, joyously next week at 3 o'clock, heaven's blessings.
Take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died